All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. However you might be tuning in, YouTube, Odyssey, or your favorite podcast app. Thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're getting this. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started. All right, we're going to update the Heat culture bracket. What Heat players, figures in Heat history have represented Heat culture the most. And David, this is exciting. We've got
upsets galore so far.
8 people. We have a lot of upsets. We had Joel Anthony over Alonzo Mourning the last time we checked in. Plenty more. We've got 8 people left. And so we can't call this the Elite 8 because we don't have copyright over that and we don't want to get in trouble. So we're going to call this the Epic 8. All right. So here's our first matchup. Let's get right into it. The Epic 8. Number 1 seed, Pat Riley versus number 9 seed, Goran Dragic. What do you think?
Goran getting past Shaquille O'Neal and others to get here. He's had a great journey. Well, we've seen this matchup already. It happened 2 years ago when he traded him to Toronto. So we know who's still here and we know who's not. As much as that connection with Gogi is still a strong one, and I'm sure they connect every time he's in town, whether it's with the Chicago Bulls or the Toronto Raptors or whatever team he's currently on. I know that they still appreciate everything Goran brought to the table in his 7 seasons with Miami, but he's gone. Pat Riley's still here, and I think he's still to continue to move on. I think this is really Pat is the heavily favored pick moving forward here, despite Goran's incredible run with Heat.
Yeah, this is like trying to think. This is like what's like the most dominant college basketball team in the tournament in like a long time?
Currently?
I don't
know.
On
all time?
Well, other than the Miami Hurricanes, of course, but whatever. All right. I missed on the analogy stuff. All right. I agree with you. Dragic. I don't come up with some sort of argument because that's the fun of this, right? Is trying to come up with that argument. But even as great as Goran Dragic is, taking that Heat culture baton and planting it in other cities, which is not necessarily how batons work, but that's okay. It's a great story, but it doesn't beat Pat Riley's argument. 2 seed or second matchup, I'm sorry, of the Epic 8, our friends, mentor, mentee, 5 seed Dwyane Wade, 4 seed Erik Spoelstra. I can already hear, I could see it on Twitter. People going crazy over this one. Spo has fewer fans right now in Miami than I think than I think Dwyane Wade does, just because of the Heat's record. But if we did the same bracket last year when the Heat were rolling to the 1 seed, I think Spo would have ran away with this.
Heck, in the Orlando bubble. Yeah, in the Orlando bubble, when he carried that team that nobody had playoff expectations for all the way to the finals, there was a lot more rampant coaches. He's one of the best coaches in the NBA, Spo's an all-timer, etc. Like, think pieces galore all over the place. I remember talking to, Michael Pina, lots of guys for the Ringer, like just about this and about the respect Spo was finally getting, right? In the midst of the pandemic and everything else, like somehow Spo emerged from that looking better than ever, despite the 4 playoff finals runs with the big 3. This was his best. Like the last few years, I think I've been highlighting what Spo is better at or more capable of.
Yeah.
And given that, honestly, I think this isn't the more talented player or the more talented representative of Heat culture. It's who represents it better. It's got to be Erik Spoelstra. This is a really tough one, but he's going to look his friend in the eye. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, it's tough. It's tough for Spo to knock out DWade. No doubt about it. He loves DWade. He spent like an hour the other night when DWade was at the game. DWade's still coming to games. You own the Utah Jazz. Is that okay? I'm okay with it. I love it when he comes to the arena. But
is it tampering?
He's like only if he's. I don't know if he's talking to the Heat players. Let's pay. He's not trying to bring.
If Max Strus signs in Utah, we're gonna file tampering charges.
If Utah does not get docked one of their several billion second-round picks, I will be upset.
That's Heat culture right there. I mean, for Pat Riley to stick it to Danny Ainge one more time and say, you take Max Strus, but you're going to take
DWade.
Give us that 1 pick. Yeah.
DWade being a mole in the Utah Jazz organization, like ahead of Danny Ainge just getting there and like Pat Riley somehow foreseeing that would be crazy. This one's actually not that tough though, although it is hard for Spo. It's Erik Spoelstra. I got to be honest. I love D-Wade. It's
not the better player or better.
D-Wade's right there in the background for those on YouTube. But it's Spo. It's Spo. And here's the thing. I say this over and over again. You've got figures that have come through the Heat history that have seen Heat culture, embraced Heat culture, and then spun it and put their own kind of thumbprints on Heat culture and have changed it. Heat culture is a living, breathing thing. DWade, I'm not saying he did not do that, but I don't know that he added anything necessarily new other than the highest level of winning, right?
Yeah.
But that's still sort of what they always tried to represent. Where Erik Spoelstra, I think, has had a much bigger impact on what it is that Heat culture is in its bones when it comes to player development, being modern as a franchise. That was all Erik Spoelstra, using analytics, using stats,
Pace and space.
relating to players, all these things. I think that's very much an Erik Spoelstra thing, and I think that's how he's evolved Heat culture in a way that it feels tangibly different than what it is that DWade left it with. All right, let's move. So
No more
moving on.
pancakes for Dwyane Wade. Yeah, that's for sure.
14 seed Joel Anthony, 6 seed Jimmy Butler. This one's all not that all interesting. I kind of want to be quick with this one. Can we just go with Jimmy Butler?
Yeah. Joel's magical run comes to an end.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler. Yeah.
And this is not just the most talented player. I just think one of the big tenets of
that's the whole thing,
culture,
though, isn't it? I know it kind of comes down to it. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but it's like Jimmy is so Heat culture even before he was Heat culture.
Yes.
Like the guy was a late round pick. Nobody expected him. Like we all know about his background, being virtually homeless at one point, having to work for everything he can. Like that guy was Heat culture before before Pat Riley even joined the organization. He was already cut. He was cut from a mold for Heat culture.
Last pick in in the first round, worked his way up, had no business being one of the best 10 players in the NBA. And a big tenet of Heat culture is doing exactly that. It's also just taking care of your body. And behind LeBron, I don't know that there's ever been a better conditioned athlete that's ever come through this organization than Jimmy Butler, right?
Yeah,
like I don't think that that's a stretch. Final matchup of the Epic 8, 10 seed Keith Askins, 2 seed Udonis Haslem.
I love it. I love it.
We got to move on. Udonis Haslem moves on. It was a great run for Keith Askins.
Yeah, it was a very good one. Yeah, UD all the way. Like as much, I think they're former teammates, right? I'm sure there's a lot of appreciation there. Were they former teammates?
I don't think they ever overlapped.
I don't know. You're right. No, you're right.
Yeah.
So UD, the kind of the culture carrier for Keith Askins. I mean, no, but it's UD. Like that's Mr. 305.
It's UD. There's a couple. I really don't know how we're going to end up with a champion on this, man. I really don't. So that's the Epic 8, the Fantastic Four, whatever, the Formidable Four. Will be next week.
Not Fantastic Four. You don't want some Disney lawyers.
Also copyright. Oh, that's a worse copyright than the NCAA lawyers. Yeah. Don't want to deal with that. Didn't say that. Strike that from the record. That'll do it for today's Heat Culture bracket update. If you did not catch the first episode and first show on Friday, we did the 5 biggest storylines for the final 5 games of the season. We touched on a whole lot of things, including what seed the Heat might get, changes potentially to the starting lineup and the rotation, and then some big questions that they have to answer over the offseason. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Remember to subscribe to new episodes of Locked On Heat on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Hit that like button right now. David, have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, Wes. Go Canes.
Go Canes.